Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, to another episode of Hollywood Backlot with Lou and you. My name is VashSky. I'm going to be your host of today's ceremonies, and hopefully my internet holds up. See the Wi-Fi logo there. It's never too good, but somebody who doesn't need Wi-Fi at all and always has a stable connection from the great beyond. It is LW Ghost. Hello there, sir.
I only wish. If I was really in the great beyond, the connection would be easy. But here on Earth, stuff happens, you know? We'll do the best we can.
Well, that's why you're in the gig city, right? Gotta get that.
Am I? I don't know.
Gotta get that a great...
See, I thought it was Edinburgh, and it was the jig city. What did I know? Anyway,
oh, I see. I was
going to put on my kilt, Lottie, and dance the jig. That always reminds me that when Mel Gibson was on The Tonight Show plugging Braveheart, and he said when they were on the set with the real Scotsman, and he asked one of them, so all right, answer the famous question, what do you wear under your kilt? And the guy looked at him and said, your wife's lipstick, Lottie.
Oh,
that's Scottish sense of humor. But then anybody who's ever tried to eat haggis knows it's a bittersweet sense of humor indeed. Anyway, in fact, as you know, just before we got started, I was looking for, I don't know, something to order for a repast after we're done. And there are no haggis offerings on DoorDash. Isn't that kind of, I don't know, culturally biased or something? Anyway. All right. Meanwhile, back in Hollywood.
Back in Hollywood, indeed. Apparently, it is a big, weird weekend at the box office, being that Superman has come out and really taken the box office by storm. At least that's what it appears like on paper. If you read the details there, maybe you come up with a different conclusion. But Superman becomes just number 3 film in 2025 to score a $100+ million 3-day weekend at the U.S. box office after scoring a super $122 million 3-day opening, only under Lilo and Stitch at $146 million and a Minecraft movie at $162 million. It's number 11 biggest in Warner Brothers history. See below, number 2 biggest opening in James Gunn's career, beating even Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3's $118.4 million and only under Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2's $146.5 million.
As people of my tribe often say on a certain day of the year, but we could say it today anyway, what is this film? How is this film different from all those other films?
Yep.
Answer, they didn't have a couple thousand super big extra cost screens to show it on back then. Not to mention inflation. It's just a matter of sheer ticket price inflation caused by people wanting to see it on the big screen.
Right. And PLFs, I think, are premium large format screens like IMAX and Dolby Cinema are going to be very, very important, I think, for this film in particular, because people are going to see Superman. Are going to want to see it on the big screen.
Let's put it this way. If you were just out of the blue as a person who wanted to invest in the future of entertainment, going to build a movie theater today, wouldn't you only build that kind?
I mean, that's kind of my position, Lou, because when you think about it, when you think about like movie theater capacity, right? Because I saw some posts out there saying, well, look at this. They got a 4 a.m. screening somewhere around here. What is going on here? And it's like, look, it's very, very simple. It's like the old, us as theme park guys, we get it. But you have roughly 1,000 screens in North America, right? And of those 1,000 screens, you have maybe 500 people on average being able to be in the auditorium at one time to see Superman on that screen. Okay, fair enough. Now you multiply that by the number of showings a day. They average about 4. But we'll go ahead and start there. And then you average that up, throughout the weeks and so forth. And that means that before Fantastic Four actually comes out in theaters, that means only 28 million people thereabouts can actually see Superman on one of those PLF screens before it's booted out for Fantastic Four. So what do you do with a population of 617 million people in North America? You provide more screenings.
Oh, okay. You're including Canada.
Yeah, North America.
But there's one other factor. Audiences get trained by life experience. If you saw the average movie made right after sound came in, for example, it would feel enormously slow to you, because the standard was you have to give people the geography of the room, and then you can go to close-ups. Now, people are so used to the speed of cutting and the speed of moving that if you do that, it feels slow. Well, two factors. One, you got more people working from home than ever before, which means the whole idea of, well, you can only go after 6 o'clock and until about midnight because people got to get up for work the next day. True. And two, you have more people working and playing at odd hours all night long. It doesn't matter if it's daytime, nighttime, whatever. So the strangeness of, well, it's all full in the big screen at midnight, but we go to the 4 a.m. show. Swell, let's go. It's not as big a deal to a lot more people. So those social factors affect it too. That's a great point. I love how you brought that up right there, because I never even thought about that. Not rehearsed. It just occurred to me as you were going through it. I said, well, wait a minute. There's another reason why it's not that big a deal to go at 4 a.m. and there are two. Absolutely. Of them, so. And to your point about really pushing PLFs and if you're a theater owner, that's basically what you would make now. I mean, look, I just went to Best Buy. We talk about the culture and everything like that. Just went to Best Buy. I mean, they got 75-inch TVs for like $500. Yeah. I mean, it really isn't that much in order to get yourself I would say for most or average Americans, like a premium experience at home. So and really as somebody who's been shopping for a new home, boy, I see more and more and more big TVs on screen porches, on outdoor decks. Yeah, that's true. That are made to handle the weather and have a cover. And so it's not just for basements anymore, Right. In fact, I see people saying, well, maybe I don't want the focus of my living room to be this massive screen on the wall. Maybe I like the stone fireplace and just talking to people, and we can go somewhere else to watch the movie. So, not to mention the popcorn is cheaper at home, let alone the bucket you put it in. Maybe people are punchier at 4 a.m. and they're more likely to buy a $35 popcorn bucket. Oh, that's interesting right there. And the other thing too with this whole thing is I forgot my point because I thought about the popcorn. See? Dang it, Lou. Food. The art of the possible. Yeah, exactly. But I think you really have to provide a compelling experience in order to get people out there and into a movie theater, and that's why I think PLFs are just so important in the modern era. It's just you got to get them in there. When I look at something like Superman, okay, so I think it's got an A- cinema score. It should have decent legs right here, but we've been hearing a lot of division over this film, Lou. I know we were talking about this with Ron, actually, following one of our shows, and he was saying, look, this really isn't a family-friendly movie, even though it's historically a family-friendly character, and somebody you could actually bring a family to. Not so much in this case. Do you think that hurts a little bit? They put more so-called curse words, swear words in a movie, theoretically to say, hey, it's a grown-up movie. And every time they use one overly, they're diluting the impact. Yes. I mean, nobody gives an F anymore about except parents who are hoping to somehow maintain. In fact, I was joking with Pro earlier today. He did a really wonderful video that I'm sure we're going to link to about the real truth of the box office and how maybe it ain't as great as everybody's saying it is, especially overseas. And he was talking about that swear word factor that I think of all of our folks, the first one that brought it up that I heard was Ron, Follow the Bradley's Fun. But Pro said, no, I don't want you to think I'm a moral prude. I'm just judging it on a commercial basis. The subtitles happened to be on YouTube when I was watching it. Do you know what they called him? A moral prune. They said they had it translated as, I don't want to be a moral prune. So every time those kind of things happen, and they happen all the time, or I get pushed ads for like pet food and I am allergic to pets, I think, well, maybe the fear of AI is not as justified as it seems, because it still does stupid stuff like push funny words and strange ads at people that couldn't care less. Anyway. I've had it provide subtitles before, just all over the place. So it's an evolving technology, I would say. But Pro and then has you go on ChatGPT and it says, "Oh, you didn't mean to call yourself a prune? Well, what did you mean to call yourself?" Yeah, exactly.
yeah.
It argues
Wants to
with
talk
you,
back
right?
to you, right there. Yeah, exactly.
And tells you why anti-Semitism is a good thing. Lately, I understand. So,
Goodness gracious, Lou.
who
Goodness
trains the
gracious.
trainers, as they say?
Yeah,
And
well,
if you have an ideology, don't you want to be the one training it into the machines? So,
well, we can make those jokes because we're at least
because
I'm
I
part
do it
Jewish and
anyway.
you're
You
from,
mean
yeah.
they don't catch up until it's too late to stop me?
Indeed.
Oh,
Well,
and
okay,
there's
so
this lovely lady. I can't think of her name now, but let me give you the link.
please.
This lady does this great stuff about children's literature,
Okay.
and did some great stuff about Snow White, among other things. Let's see. Here it is, over here on the sidebar. And she did one about how George Orwell predicted that art would be created by artificial intelligence. And he predicted that in 1947, 49, something like that. 1949. There you go. So
Yeah, okay. I'm figuring right here. The Children's Literature Podcast looks like George Orwell
it's a
predicted AI.
great show. And like I say, she did one about Snow White that was maybe one of the best that anybody's done. So
Go ahead and put it in the
look
chat
into
right
her.
there.
She's very, very smart and very,
All
very
right,
good.
all right. Go ahead and put that in the chat.
I love it. The description on this one says, I was one of those pretentious high schoolers who read 1984, but at least I wasn't one of those pretentious high schoolers who read Atlas Shrugged. Anyway, it's a good show and it's worth watching. So
Absolutely. Definitely check it out.
Meanwhile, David Zaslav pulled the plug. Oh, yeah, of course he did.
Yes, I wanted to go ahead and talk about this really fast because, while everybody's kind of digesting the movie and kind of arguing on how good this movie is and how better it could be, it isn't Superman or whatever, I kind of want to go ahead and bring in a little bit that was provided actually by the Wall Street Journal recently. And we are running articles from that provided by That Park Place. David Zaslav pulled the plug on the J.J. Abrams Black Superman movie for being too woke. This by Marvin Montanaro, July 11, 2025. In a quiet but telling moment from Warner Bros. Discovery, post-merger restructuring, CEO David Zaslav reportedly made the call to halt development on a high-profile Black Superman movie being written by author Ta-Nehisi Coates and produced by J.J. Abrams. The project, envisioned as a civil rights era period piece, was deemed by Zaslav to be, quote, too woke, according to the Wall Street Journal report published this week.
How woke is too woke? Can you have a little wokeness? Can you have, that's like, it reminds me of the Monty Python Spam sketch, right?
Yeah,
it's got woke, sausage, beans, and woke. It hasn't got much woke in it.
Exactly. Right. While that phrase will undoubtedly spark outrage in certain corners of Hollywood, it may have been one of the first signs that Zaslav intended to steer the DC brand back toward a broader appeal and away from the kind of race swap virtue signaling that has alienated portions of the movie-going public from companies like Marvel. It was really interesting because when I saw Superman, there wasn't really an ounce of woke in it. I was expecting, okay, well, maybe there's going to be, like you said, a little spam, little wokeness in it, but we'll get through it. But really wasn't. I was actually quite surprised by that.
There's an interesting theory about that put forward by none other than the great John Nolte over on Breitbart. Now, it is behind their VIP paywall, so not everybody can access it. So I'll mention that because we always try to avoid putting those articles up.
Mm-hmm.
He says that Gunn realized accidentally that he'd made a pro-MAGA statement about the whole thing about not getting involved in foreign wars and was worried. And that's why he brought up the whole wokeness issue as a way of keeping his creds with his friends. So I haven't seen the movie yet, so I have no idea if any of this is relevant. The other question is, maybe what Zaslav's problem was that he ran by the marketing the department. And when they came up with a slogan that said, "You'll believe a brother can fly," he said, no, that's too much. Anyway.
What? Wow. Well, I think that would have been kind of amusing. I will say, Mr. Terrific in that is absolutely fantastic. I mean, he really does steal the show in that specific production, that being 2025's Superman. But I just
what I said about it too is what he did. He was funny. He was charming. He was concerned. He was all the good things that Superman should be. The biggest thing was beneath the charm, beneath the humor, beneath the wry observation of mankind from a different position, he had a moral core. He had a, we'll go this far, but no farther. He had a, okay, Lex, you're a crazy, wacky guy, but at this point you've stepped over the line. Right. Attitude about him that is the core of the character of Superman to me.
Yes.
So anyway.
And it's so vitally important that you get that, I think, illustrated properly.
And by the way, if Lex Luthor's a multi-zillionaire genius scientist, he hasn't invented a way to grow his hair back yet?
Well, you know.
And wouldn't a guy like that do that first before he got around to taking over the world? I'm just saying, you know.
He's embraced it, Lou. It's part of his identity now.
I see.
No, I have no idea, but you would think, you know, there are some hair care products that from what I understand, work. So there you go.
Well, there's an ancient vaudevillian era joke about I met a guy who invented something that would grow hair on a billiard ball because they used to like advertise things that way. He said the only problem was nobody wanted a billiard ball with hair on it. So, those are the days.
There you go.
And if you're a worldwide internet, I don't see Elon Musk drinking out of a Musk coffee cup, but Luthor's got one with his name on it because, like, we're going to make sure everybody knows which one's the boss's coffee cup.
Yeah, well, the depictions of the characters, I think,
and nobody else cares. But
no,
the absurdity. And I've been saying it since I saw the first trailer, this idea that dumb dog is going to drag him through the ice rather than just pick him up and fly him to the fortress drove me nuts, and it still does. So,
hey, that's totally fair. You know, you talked about Lex Luthor and the coffee cup right there. There is a moment in which, like, he does this twice actually in succession, where he's got like a coffee cup with a bunch of pencils in it, and like fling it off the desk, and like, demand everybody to pick it up around him, just to show kind of how controlling he is, I guess.
He doesn't pick up his own mess.
Yeah. But he's like making people do it or whatever, and I was like, I don't know. It just seemed a little bit petty there.
That there would be some kind of kiss butt aide de camp in the background who wouldn't have to be told, who would just be in there doing it.
Yes, that's true. I just find that very, very interesting. But then you have a depiction of him where, like, and this is spoilers, folks. So, if you don't want to be spoiled for this movie, just tune out just for like a minute or so. But there's a moment in the movie in which he plays a game of Russian roulette with somebody that Superman deeply cares about, and it is making a profound impact online. I mean, a lot of people have taken to that and saying like, "Whoa, that's a really kind of evil move."
Never mind
right there,
inspiring your kids to swear. You don't want to inspire them to play with guns.
That's a fair point.
I shot Bobby. How did you do that? Well, I was playing Luthor. We were role playing the movie, and it went off, Dad.
That's fair point. That's a fair point right there.
Anyway,
good. But it was really profound, and I guess that speaks to also to this is kind of more of an adult movie. But people are blaming James Gunn for that, and I get it. I understand. I get that. But isn't that really kind of a studio problem? Once the studio made the decision to bring James Gunn in, you kind of had to know what you were getting, right?
Yeah, but. And I was talking about this from a financial point of view, but it's also true in this way. They didn't bring him in to just direct a movie. They brought him in to run the entire DC universe. And by the way, he's directing the movie.
Right.
So the studio is him.
Yeah.
If he was a director, he'd say, "Can I do this?" And they'd say yes or no, like Zaslav said no to the other one. But
yeah,
if they've appointed him judge, jury, and executioner of all things DC, then who's he got to answer to? And does that ipso facto make him a less good director because he has less imposed discipline? See,
it really is.
I brought it up in the sense of compensation because some of his money's coming as a director, sure, on which he will get residuals and all that kind of stuff, and some of it is as the studio exec, which maybe not. So anyway. Nobody's working for me.
No, I think it's really profoundly. No. I think it's really profoundly important because I think you're at the crux of the issue right there, because it's like, and this Wall Street Journal article goes over this in great detail. It's like, look, DC has floundered for years and years and years and years. And once they found an opportunity, it's like, okay, let's go ahead and snag James Gunn away from Disney for, the issues that he had in terms of his social media presence and his history there. It's like, okay, well, let's go ahead and have him craft a universe for us finally with this kind of a holistic vision that is incorporative of all of our properties, no matter if they're on TV, screen, so forth, right? And it's like that's about the best idea that DC's had. They had to get rid of they had to get away from the Snyder-verse. They had to put this kind of new spin on it. And so James Gunn is definitely the polar opposite of all of that.
And the question is, was his first thought, well, I'll have the subplot be that he's supposed to screw all the Earth women and repopulate the world with Kryptonians? Because, man, harem movies really sell,
Yeah.
I mean, frankly, I appreciate what Pro and what Ron, what everybody's saying about everybody swearing every third word, but somehow the level of immorality of that is more of a problem for my kids than the rest.
Sure. Oh, I totally get it. Absolutely. And again, it's like when you bring in James Gunn, sometimes you get some of this stuff. But even James Gunn, when confronted with the idea of taking on Superman as the kind of lead film in order to usher in this new DC extended universe, he initially balked. He was like, "Look, listen, I don't think I could really do this." He's just
until you up the offer by another $10 million.
Well, yes, right.
You have to remember, but it was the things we hear people have said are coming out of everybody's releasing what they're releasing on purpose. Everybody's got a reason to announce, well, I wouldn't do that. Oh, well, okay. How about if we offered you this? Oh, well, now maybe if we... This is a business. The PR of the movies has become entirely a business. And what you hear that so-so said, that they said, that you said, that I said, may never have happened or may have happened on purpose as a promotional thing. So
that's very true.
I'm saying is take it all with a grain of salt, gang, and don't get sold into it because you saw somebody on X say, well, I heard that they...
Well, there's no question about that. Definitely take everything with a grain of salt. And stories change and so forth. They're manipulated, and maybe they take on a new tenor and tone, for whatever agenda that's actually being profited at the time. But I thought it was interesting the reasons cited, at least in that alleged conversation provided by the Wall Street Journal right there. It was like, well, how can I bring a goody two-shoes like this into the modern era in this kind of modern world and make them for modern audiences? And so with that kind of directive, a lot of the choices in Superman 2025 make a lot of sense. And I've said it before. Look,
maybe, but... And my but is, do we really think that Siegel and Schuster were writing only for their era? If you're creating the most powerful being on planet Earth, right now that's Donald Trump. Way back, it was Attila the Hun. All I'm saying is the concept is universal, regardless of the time frame. And so you may have to update the technique, as I was saying earlier, about audiences getting educated to speed and educated to shortcutting geography and cutting and all the rest. Mm-hmm. But the issue at the core doesn't go away and doesn't really change.
So does that demonstrate a fundamental misunderstanding of the character?
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe. If you say, well, how do I get modern audience? See, the more likely suspicion was, how do I get him to forget the crap that's been up there just recently?
That's a fair point. Yeah.
See,
good point.
How do I really start fresh without it being multiverse number 432B subsection 12 and giving me a clean slate? So part of that is the redesign of the costume. Part of that is the casting of everybody.
And it was very clear coming out of the film. It was like, okay, James Gunn had basically two mandates, which was set up a new DCEU. That was mandate number one, but two, have it distinct from the Snyder-verse, distinct from Man of Steel, distinct from what Snyder had done before. And I think there were. And
by virtue of that, you're stuck with being distinct from that guy.
Well, that's true.
Which is not necessarily a good thing.
Right.
I mean, we might ask the question. They made a big deal when the original Superman, the Donner Superman, came out. Of, oh my God, with modern wonderful technology, we can make you believe a man can fly and all that. Mm-hmm. Somehow George Reeve, we believed it. What I'm saying is, Superman's been around since what, 1920 something?
Oh, yeah. From what I understand, he's a 100
Aunt Jemima, what took you so long?
Sure.
Even for the Chris Reeve movie, why was it that was a subject that didn't obviously say, if not to big studios, to serial guys and and by the way, look at that. Who the hell ever thought, well, if Superman goes up against his biggest, most evil foe, it's going to be Gene Hackman in a bad wig with a bimbo girlfriend and a numbskull aide-de-camp. And you're going, well, but they made it work. And They made it work because this guy made it work. Without him, the rest of it wouldn't have worked. Yeah. And so all I'm saying is there are elemental forces involved in doing anything with this character that are far beyond those of mortal men, as they say. Okay?
Oh, sure. Oh, absolutely.
And so it's a big responsibility, and you either rise to it or you don't. And I haven't seen the movie yet, so I can't tell you my opinion. I just know what I'm seeing. Look at, Margot Kidder was a certifiable nut job. I don't know if you know this. But I mean, she was really, really, really a nut job, and yet she made it work.
Yeah.
So that's why they call it actors. That's why they call it actors. I've heard
the stories about Kidder right there. But yeah, they made it work, and I think they were able to put together something that was really profound and really defined the superhero genre for so many years. I would say up until Batman, but even then, really defined the origin story. Really defined the how you present a character to an audience.
As good as take Batman, as good as the Tim Burton stuff was, as awful as the genre guys just recently debuted on the Pro Channel, as awful as the Joel Schumacher Batman stuff was, and as terrible and good and bad and whatever you think of, man, did Nolan hit it out of the park.
Yeah.
Because he figured it out.
Mm-hmm.
So it just goes to show you that, certainly in the case of Snyder versus Gunn versus Donner versus the director matters. If the studio gives them the authority to do it their way. And the question of hiring this one and not hiring that one is less a matter of their technical skill or their past success or failure or anything else, except nowadays their social media stupidity. It's a matter of saying, tell me your vision, and if I agree with it, I will stand back and let you enact it.
Yeah.
But when the person you're saying that to is the face in the mirror, there's nobody there to say, well, yeah, but. So, in other words, I think Gunn inadvertently wrote himself into that corner by being both the executive in charge of DC and the director of the movie.
Yeah.
He certainly knows he can't direct them all, but it's like, my you-know-what does not stink.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a fair point.
That's a problem.
Right. Well, that's the thing. I think when James Gunn's looking at this and he's going, look, there have been a dozen depictions of this character in various media before I'm sitting in this chair, right? I can't appeal to every single fan of every single particular version of this character. So I'm just going to go ahead and utilize this character in order to tell the story that I want to tell. And, I'll do the best job I can at doing that because that's what I know. That's what I know how to do. And he did. And so if you're a big Superman fan, not a big James Gunn fan, you're going to hate this movie. But if you're not a Superman fan and you are a James Gunn fan, you might really actually like this movie a lot. And I think that's where the differences reside. The conflict resides within the fandoms right now. It's just, I think when people have a very strong preconceived idea of what a character should be, and you don't actually see that depicted on screen, I think you have a visceral reaction. In not too dissimilar fashion, by the way, that we saw with Rian Johnson back in the day, right?
Yeah.
With The Last Jedi and everything like that. He was going to do what he was going to do. Kathleen Kennedy picked him for number two of the sequel trilogy. Never should have done that. But he was going to, bring his vision to fruition. And everything else be damned. And so when we saw those depictions of Luke Skywalker, it was like, whoa, people had a visceral reaction to that. And rightfully so. But do you blame the filmmaker or the person who put them in that position?
But when it's the same person.
Well, I guess what I mean is
that's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
You know, we talked about during the whole Disney shareholders extravaganza with people talking about trying to take over or get a seat on the board or whatever, that the very minimum thing having an outsider not picked by Bob would do to that board is have somebody sit there when decisions are being made and say, wait a minute, what if we're wrong?
Yeah.
What if the answer is no, not yes? What if? Not saying it will be, but even to ask the question. Well, let me tell you something about directing stuff, because I've done that a little bit.
Please.
It's really, really, really hard. And to maintain focus and maintain momentum and keep yourself from basically throwing up your hands and saying, I can't do this, you got to be pretty damn confident and pretty damn certain. And you need somebody, you know, the classic line from Patton about the triumphant Roman generals having a procession and having a slave stand behind them holding a golden wreath over their heads, whispering in their ear that all glory is fleeting. So if you don't have that, because the boss is you,
well,
things can get out of hand. That's all I'm saying. Things can get out of hand. And without anybody noticing, because if anybody does, they're at a level at which if they say, yeah, but they get shown the door, like in that clip of, sorry about that, George. I didn't really want to, you can't be here. Get out of here.
Right.
You know?
Right. I was just about to bring up George Lucas, actually, because a lot of people say that George Lucas, because he didn't have, you know, those restrictions of the past,
He did in the first one, because it was not made for a lot of money. He was not coming off being God's gift to filmmaking. And he didn't forget. He didn't forget.
Yeah.
And remember, it's the people later who say, well, there's never been a woman in charge, who forgot about his wife and the editorial work that she did and the discussions they must have had at night when they went home from the set, you know? And so I keep saying this, and I'm getting boring saying it, so I'm going to stop. But it reads better than it lives, as they say. What happens in the real world is another thing. And all we can anticipate is that if you take out one of those levels of checks and balances by making it the same guy, you take out a vital part of the process. It could be it would all turn out exactly the same, but at least you'd be confident in how to do it. I once told a director on a show that I was involved with why something he was doing was a problem. And he said, you know what, you're right, but don't just bring me a problem, bring me a solution. I may not use your solution. I may find a different solution, but give me a concrete, doable alternative that solves the problem. Well, if there's nobody there to say there's a problem, let alone to try and offer an alternative solution, you get what you get. You get what you get.
Well, that's a fair point. Anyway. I want to pick your brain just one last time, and then we're going to
go ahead. I'll open this little hole over here and do a sharp instrument.
Well, sorry. Well, I just want to.
While you're in there, there's something sticking in my craw. I'd like you to remove.
Yes, I'll go ahead and grab that out thusly. But I want to. There's been a lot of critique of modern filmmaking, right? Where it's like
define modern.
It's cinema.
Before you go any further, what year are we talking?
So within the last 5 years.
Okay, all right.
In which you have like this kind of cinema by committee, right? Where you're making a movie, but it's got to pass through all these different hands. You got all these focus groups, these testing groups, and so forth, in order to ensure this thing's a real hit or ensure this thing's going to be resonate with audiences and so forth. At what point, Lou, are too many people in the process too many?
There are never that many. It may look like it from the outside, but somewhere, there's Jack Warner and Lew Wasserman and Louis Mayer, and they're the guy. Now, if they are so weak that they can be confused or befuddled by all those different voices, they shouldn't be in that job. And maybe that's the problem in some of these cases. Like, I don't know, some guy who sees every one of these movies 4, 5, 6 times every time just to make sure it's wonderful. So how can it come out not wonderful and not make money and be a laughing stock if he's the guy that should do that? I mean, he put that up to tout how conscientious he is. And it's all well and good to be conscientious, but not if you're wrong.
Right.
If you're aggressively, conscientiously wrong. And the proof is in the pudding, as they say. And to then say, well, it's that damn audiences. What do they know? It's those idiots that think it's too hot in the summertime to go to Disney World. It's their fault.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, what do you hear from good management? And I'll tell you something. I'd be saying this even if Epic was so-so.
Mm-hmm.
What you hear is, you know what? We made a seriously wrong turn when we went into all these screen-based things and Jimmy Fallon, and let's stop. And let's remind the world that, yes, we were wrong, and yes, we heard you, and yes, we're still listening to you. And that's why we're not doing that anymore.
Right.
Can you ever imagine somebody with the narcissistic ego of some of these other guys even admitting they were wrong that bad, let alone putting millions and billions of dollars into fixing it? I can't, because, my God, they're never wrong. And if they are, it's you. It's your fault. I made something perfect, and I'm afraid the audience disappointed me by being human and fallible, and gee whiz, too bad. So sad. Someday when you're older and wiser like me, you'll watch it again and you'll love it. I promise you. You will believe that a half-assed Broadway singer girl can enchant and captivate the world as a Snow White. And if you don't, it's your fault.
That's a fair point.
And I hate to keep bringing... I don't do this out of some sort of special animus for him, because there's a lot of guys like him in this business. Mm-hmm. The answer is that he's just the most visible and complete example of this syndrome. That's all. Mm-hmm. And by the way, here's another thing somebody else would have asked James Gunn if there was somebody above him in this. What's with that stupid haircut on the Green Lantern, for God's sake?
They make a joke of it in the film. I believe that bowl cut is used on that character in various adaptations of that character in various medium, and so maybe it was a statement about that.
So what? Sure. It's stupid. It calls attention to itself. It takes you out of, is that the Green Lantern, and into, who the hell is wearing their hair that way? I mean, it's like I joke all the time about Josh Tomorrow buying his clothes in the little boys cadet section at Saks Fifth Avenue, but it's true. He likes it, and if he likes that, what the hell else does he like? Tiana's Bayou Disaster is what else he likes.
That's
what doesn't he like? He probably, him looking at, let's say Cary Grant in an elegant suit is like him looking at the rivers of America and saying, oh, not that corny old stuff. Get rid of it. So I'm telling you, I always joke, because I spent a lot of time, as you know, as a food writer and a cookbook ghostwriter and all the rest of it. I always joke that I always say, have you ever had an old friend and you go to visit them and wherever they're living now, and they say, hey, I'm going to take you to my absolutely favorite restaurant. I love this place. You're going to love it. It's fantastic. And you go and you order everything he tells you is the best of the best on this wonderful menu of this fantastic guy cooking back there. And it's bad. It's unspeakably bad. Mm-hmm. And what does that tell you about your friend? It tells you he can't cook. His mother couldn't cook. His grandmother couldn't cook. His great aunt couldn't cook. And he doesn't know any better. Mm-hmm. He just doesn't know. Well, that's sad, but he's happy, and that's swell, and you're leaving tomorrow. But what if, whether you like it or not, he's your caterer for the rest of your life? So, anyway.
Fair point.
At that point, you either vomit or you find some new friends.
Yeah.
Or you vomit first, or when you get tired of doing that, you find some new friends. That's why the audiences are going down at a certain formerly happily place. Because sooner or later, people won't keep saying, oh, Not only have you made it worse, but you want more money when I don't have any? Guess what? I'll go see the other guys. So
and that's what people are doing, I think, to put to put this topic to rest finally.
Oh, good.
Well, I want to talk to you because we did talk about vintage Hollywood. I think we'd be remiss to not talk about the Superman curse.
Is there a curse? Boy, that's one more way to absolve somebody of a responsibility, isn't it? It wasn't me; it was the curse.
Well, see, that's kind of what I'm talking about. Okay, so George Reeves, I think, starts it off there, and his history and what actually happened to him is quite fascinating.
From Gunn with the wind shooter to suicide in one generation. Oh, I said the wrong word. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
YouTube, forgive me. I knew not what I doed.
It's fine. But no, I like really interesting stuff. And apparently he had an affair with Tony Maddox. Is that right? Eddie Maddox. Mannix.
Oh, Eddie Mannix is. Oh, well, I don't know.
Yes.
I don't have any idea.
What?
I was. Oh,
you know all about this stuff.
I was not there.
Okay. Well, Eddie Mannix was a historical, just a huge powerhouse film producer and film executive and so forth.
He was kind of the enforcer for things. But anyway, yeah, go ahead.
Right. So, okay. MGM, the fixer, right? There's some allegations, I suppose, that George Reeves, who did play Superman back in the 50s, if I'm not mistaken.
Right, late 50s.
Yeah, late 50s or the 60s. Or right with the inception of television, and apparently George Reeves, that is, he was a little bit apprehensive about actually donning the Superman attire for television because he felt that television was, a medium that nobody would actually care about. Suffice to say.
Well, in those days, there was a definitive line between TV and features, and if you crossed it, you couldn't get back because it was
that's a fair point.
Sort of betraying the true art form of the cinema, quote unquote.
That's a good point.
But anyway,
so a lot of people felt that, especially with his relationship with Tony there, and obviously Eddie Mannix's position, a lot of people felt that maybe there was some foul play with.
I have no idea. What is the question? Cut to the chase. Okay, all right. Well, that's what happens to one of the first Superman, and then obviously we know what happens. Oh, the curse. I see.
The curse, right? And so you just have this lineage of bad things befalling people associated with the franchise. Now, people might be asking, well, Henry Cavill, he's fine. Career-wise, one could argue. But look at what happened to Zack Snyder and all of that's transpired.
What happened?
Right,
he made a lot of money and made a lot of movies, and eventually people got tired of his style. And will he come back? Maybe, maybe not. I'm just suggesting that being a fabulously wealthy and successful director in Hollywood for many years is not quite the equivalent of being 6 feet under.
That's a really fair point indeed.
So anyway, the answer is no. There's no curse.
All right. No curse indeed. And
there's too much cursing in the movie, maybe, but there's no curse on the property.
That's a fair point. That's a fair point right there. But maybe there is going to be a franchise.
By the way, everybody who acted in Casablanca is dead. So maybe there's a Casablanca curse.
Stop it, Lou. Stop it.
Well, I'm sorry, but it's just
terrible fates is what we're talking about. Okay.
Anyway, no is my response. I could be wrong, and maybe I am now cursed for having denied it, because King Tutankhamun is going to come from the backstage dressed as Steve Martin, and the Bengals are going to tell me to walk like an Egyptian. So I don't know.
Well, you know what franchise isn't cursed? And well, maybe it's cursed with the curse of mediocrity, at least in the modern era. Lion King. actually. Backlot
Funny
JUKEBOX.
enough,
Lou!
what a segue. Our weekly foray into the wonderful world of movie music and related to movies, music. This time, you're going to find, once again, that massive orchestra at the Albert Hall with Hans Zimmer doing a Lion King suite, and it's great. Listen, and you'll see.
Hey, Hans Zimmer, fantastic composer. Actually, I was actually surprised to see him on the credit list during the opening of F1. I was like, oh, Hans Zimmer, that's kind of cool. So a lot of amazing stuff. You know, as we were just talking about Superman, John Williams, right? As John Williams has aged and become less prominent in terms of modern composition as it relates to cinema. Yeah, Hans Zimmer is really, really kind of, I wouldn't say taken the mantle, but filled at least a little bit of that void from recent productions not featuring
the
John
only
Williams.
reason we single out one or two guys as the premier guys or gals is because they're not making as many movies. Back in the 40s, you know, when MGM in I think it was 39 made more than one movie a week, you had to have a lot of music, and you could afford to have a full-time 150-piece orchestra on call, getting paid a weekly salary, whether they picked up their trombone or didn't. So all I'm saying is the few that are really, really good are really, really more prominent because there are fewer of them to be, you know. So
Jan Monroe, I like this right here. Is the curse of King Tut what is made up to sell tickets to a traveling exhibition? Also, most of the people who died mysteriously, they were in their 60s and 70s, and by that measure of time, old. It's a fair point. It's a fair point, Jan.
Well, I don't know about those days, and obviously we didn't have social media, but I do know this. Speaking as someone in their early, thank God, very early 70s, when I see that somebody famous died and they say they were X years old, more often than not, I'm tempted to say, well, that's young, not old. Because the further I get towards old, the more things become younger rather than older. I am in a Facebook group of my alumni class from high school. And because of the high school it was, most of them politically are totally in disagreement with me, and socially are totally separate from me. And a lot of them are very, very successful doctors and lawyers and Indian chiefs. But you know what I post in there, and they all just love me, is old age memes.
Yeah.
Because we all have that in common, you know.
That's true.
So those things please the audience there, regardless of where they come from, because it's inevitable or not. And I mean, you know, as in it eventually ends. But I mean, and then of course, when my mother, who's 97, talks to me, I go back and read those to her because it's like, here, I can cheer you up. Let me see. Let me go look at the last couple I posted because they were pretty funny.
Well, speaking of age, Mr. Fulton Mraz, next Sunday, July 20th, is my big 26th birthday. Well, there you go. You lived a 26th year on this planet without dying. Fantastic. No,
here's one for you, Mr. Fantastic. 26. It says, I am at the age where my mind firmly believes I'm 29. My humor suggests I'm 12, and my body possibly died in the Civil War. Oh, here's one. They've got a picture, obviously from like the 60s or 70s, of a kid on a Stingray bike, and it says, I crashed my bike in 1973 and scraped my knee. We didn't have the internet then, so I'm telling you now.
Yeah, there you go. That's pretty good.
Here we go. No. Being a little older, I feel very fortunate to have someone call and check up on me every single day. He's from India, and he's very, very concerned about my car warranty. Or old age is a thing. Last night I was in bed for 20 minutes when I heard the pizza guy cough downstairs, and then I remembered I came to my room to get my wallet. So anyway.
Can't write her. I feel old now. Exactly.
Doctor, listen to your body more. Body, you're old and you want lasagna.
Exactly.
And then my favorite here, I'll end it with this, although there are many more. I don't know how to act my age. I've never been this old before.
That's pretty good and apropos, actually, too. But well, Mr. Fulton Mraz, I don't have a celebratory clip there for you, but I do have this.
It's called a salute to all nations, but mostly America.
Great.
Well, there's a lot of birthdays going on now, isn't there? Thank you so much, Mr. Fulton Mraz. Very much appreciate that. Yeah. And I got one more story for you, Lou. You're going to like this one? Okay. You're going to like it.
I like them all, Vash. I know you're not sing that way sometimes, but I do. I do.
Well, you might like this one, especially because, well, I don't actually know how you're going to feel about this. Let's go ahead and go to it right now. From the Sun. License to Thrill. Massive American film star becomes favorite to be the next Bond girl as she is pals with new 007 director. The U.S. star also has the backing of Jeff Bezos, boss of Amazon, which has creative control. This by Hannah Hope from The Sun here. Now,
who
Lou,
could it be?
Do you have any idea?
I don't. I haven't seen this. I have no. All
right, here we go. Oh, I love this.
Except that
the franchise's new director Dennis Villeneuve is a friend and keen to cast the White Lotus and Euphoria actress 27 Sydney Sweeney is in line to be a Bond bombshell in the next 007.
There's a larger positive hope for humanity message here. Anybody out there seen Jeff Bezos' girlfriend, new wife? Mm-hmm. Anybody who married somebody so totally artificial and is still all for this all natural girl, there's hope in the world. That's the way I look at it.
That's a fair point. Sydney also has the backing of Jeff Bezos, boss of Amazon, which has creative control of the series. A movie source said Sydney is the top name on the casting sheet for Bond. Dennis believes she is hugely talented, as well as having an alluring appeal to younger generations, vital to modernizing the franchise. They've hung out together a lot.
Sense of humor, Vash. I just pulled sentences out of this article and say if they were just there with her picture, what would they mean? They've hung out together a lot, and.
And
he's admired her stratospheric rise. I bet he had a stratospheric rise when they hung out together a lot too. But
let me read the article and then the jokes can come here. They've hung out together a lot, and he has admired her stratospheric rise. Plus, Sydney has the quality of being athletic and able to perform physical scenes, as well as being feminine and following in the legacy of the Bond girls. She recently transformed her figure to play U.S. boxer Christy Martin in a new biopic, lifting weights daily and kickboxing. Sydney was pictured last year chatting to Villeneuve at 57 and Bond
talking. Oh my God!
Oh my goodness gracious! And Anna de Armas.
You know what we said before about behind the scenes conversations. Well, there's one out in front of the screens, and I just, God, let me ask you this,
please.
If you had come from another planet and somebody spent 10 minutes explaining to you the James Bond franchise and that there was always a gorgeous girl in it, wouldn't she be on your top 10 human list just by virtue of being one of those?
That is,
the Bond girls,
likely.
How they got the job. I don't know if most people know this, but if they watched the Genre Guys story about Dr. No, which I'm sure is here by now because it was a long time ago.
Oh, yes.
If they watched that, they would know that the reason Ursula Andress first came to the attention of Broccoli and Saltzman for Dr. No, she was the only one out of the thousands of models and actresses whose pictures were sent to them that had her hair wet. And since in that famous opening scene, she's coming out of the ocean like a sea goddess with more presence than who, the sea goddess. The seabed goddess, the seabed leaving behind the remains of animals of the sea, bed goddess. Anyway, my point is, weird stuff can happen from a photograph. And hey, I think it's interesting. They have a director. They're talking about a female star, which, most Bond girls get killed in the process in the movie. Well, they do.
That's a fair point.
They don't have who's playing Bond, and they don't have a script. But hey, we know that the generic Bond girl prototype she fits the bill, and that's worth a story. I just think that's verify you're human.
Yeah, well, I was
I
going to put
verify she's human. Next,
I was going to put up some safe for work images, but everybody understand who Sydney Sweeney is. The question, Lou, if they cast somebody like Sydney Sweeney, but they cast somebody like Tom Holland, do people still go because of Sydney Sweeney?
Sure. Look, the first thing you know as a movie fan of James Bond movies is if actress X is going to be in it as the Bond girl for that movie, she's not going to be wearing dungarees. You know, my jokes about her wardrobe, I'll tell it one more time because there might be 3 people out there who haven't heard it. But I said that originally they were talking about casting her as the female Silver Surfer. But when they looked at the price of silver and what the costume would cost, they decided to get a skinnier girl. So anyway.
You know, some people say that's a joke on shape language.
So what we've tried to do is really bring that shape language from the architecture. But like what we love to talk about at WDI is shape language. And we often refer to shape language.
There's such iconic shape language in Spaceship Reverie Attraction. We really wanted to make sure that we fused to that throughout the space.
Shape language.
Here's my question to that young woman. Aside from
Yes.
the fact that she's an idiot and that the idea that all they do all day at WDI is sit around talking about shape language explains a lot of their mistakes over the last several years. I want to know, do you suppose Buckminster Fuller called it shape language when he invented the geodesic dome that Spaceship Earth's shape language comes from? Somehow I doubt that word ever passed his lips. I didn't know him. I wasn't there. But, you know, shape language, that's our new buzzword. We want everybody to come out of here talking about it. And the only thing I've ever seen, and I've seen several videos of people who went to that premiere party for the grown-ups only, spend a fortune on drinks and look at the view they've fixed by chopping down trees and taking out fountains. I've seen them talk about the food, about the drinks, about the insane cost, about all kinds of things, but I haven't heard the word shape language come out of anybody's mouth but hers. So no. That didn't work. And of course, the other person, the other great linguist who understands words and their meaning, who was there, you don't see her in any of those clips, but in some of the other people's clips you do, who was there to promote it that day, you know who was there, right? Miss Antithesis.
Oh, yes.
So when you have two possible words you'd like to get out in the world, and antithesis and shape language are them, you got on the wrong train, guys. What can I say?
You know, they talk about branding, Lou, in the modern era. When you can brand, when your brand is shape language and then antithesis, that's really something right there. Anyway, no, well, the other thing about Sydney Sweeney, which I found particularly fascinating, is that apparently she attended Bezos' wedding. So I don't know what that means. I still have to actually watch a bit more of Sydney Sweeney's work.
It means you have to look at that woman he married and ask whether she's one of these AI-generated Japanese robot girls, only done wrong. My God. I mean,
she's a pilot, Lou. Come on.
She's a pilot. Like yeah. Well, you know, my father was in a somewhat rudimentary business, and he used to say, I'm a pilot too. I pilot over here, and I pilot over there, and I pilot over around the corner. He did say that. So, because my brother was a pilot. So, but if she's a pilot, she has problem with her oxygen mask, because with those fake cheekbones and that fake chin. Have you got a picture of her so people understand, if they haven't seen her, what I'm talking about Bezos' wife?
Yes.
My God, better living through animatronics is the answer to her.
Oh, you're too harsh, Lou. I'm petrified of putting this on screen.
I'm saying,
look,
if
helicopter pilot.
Well, how can I put this delicately? Well, that's an okay picture, but there's some of them where it's like, with those cheekbones and that chin and all the other angles to her, you'd get up in the morning bruised after having spent the night next to this angular person.
Woo!
Well, you know, maybe
we are trying
that,
not to objectify
me.
women. No. We're trying. Look, I cannot speak to how
I just look. Plastic surgery is plastic surgery, and some people are into it, and some people aren't. Just like they are with tattoos, and I'm not, and other things. But if we are being even vaguely psychoanalytical here, if you really dislike what you look like that much, what does that say about you? If the face you show the world is a simulacrum of the old comedy and tragedy masks, what does that say about you? And if your answer is, well, but I got the richest guy in the world or one of them to marry me, yeah, swell. Was that your goal, or was love and romance? They may love each other and be in a wonderful relationship, and mazel tov. I hope so. But sorry, different strokes for different folks.
Is that like a personal attack or something?
Oh, there's another one. Why isn't she on the list?
Who would put Brie Larson on the list of Bond women, especially when it comes to
there's usually
under 30
there's
Bond men.
The good one and the bad one, and the bad one gets killed. So there's people who'd put her on that list. There are.
I'm very intrigued on decisions.
Actress Brie Larson, you mean? Or nominated at least, yeah.
Oh yes. Oh yeah, The Room.
We forget about that,
I forgot about that.
She tried very hard to make us all forget about it with her behavior.
I totally forgot about The Room. Oh,
but she still gets the little copyright next to the Oscar by her face on anything she does, right? Because that's part of the club. So
that's part of the club.
I guess what I'm saying, I hadn't heard this about Sydney or anybody else. If you don't know what the story is and you haven't got a Bond, who the hell cares?
But
and to that degree, the Bond women are interchangeable. And most of the ones in the past, not the recent past, but most of the ones in the past, in the Connery days, in the Pierce Brosnan days, were not interchangeable. They were really fine actresses who accepted the obligations of the part and played it to their best ability. So what can I say?
Well, look, with a Bond film, you kind of know what you're going to get, right? It's going to be an action film. There's going to be
that. What was she, Spanish? The one that he meets in the casino in Macau, and then she gets killed on the fancy island by Remy. But she was, it's like beautiful girl. They start to have a relationship. Next thing you know, bang. So, in fact, one of the names of one of the soundtrack cuts of the original of Dr. No, that it's called Mr. Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, because that was apparently the abbreviation in a lot of the world for James Bond when it was new. Mr. Kiss Bang Bang. So.
Yes. Yeah. Well, there you go. I bring it up because, Bond has a certain formula, right? And the cast plays such a pivotal role in the appeal of that franchise. So going over stuff like this,
Vash, with all due respect, that the female singer of the theme song is more important. Really?
You might be right. You might be right.
Adele? I don't know. Anyway,
Hammer Biotech, I think it was Room, not The Room. Very different movie. Yes, you are correct. Just Room, not The Room. The Room's funny though.
And that's funny when you consider we're doing the music of Hans Zimmer. And doesn't the word Zimmer in German mean room? Anyway,
I believe it does.
6 degrees of separation, of bondification, of casting elation, or
that's just about
surgicalization.
Oh goodness gracious! The plastic surgery again. Well, thank you so much, Lou. Very much appreciate that. Apparently, some people really had a fun time with it, so I'm glad we were able to bring that fun time to you. Hopefully, as somebody of the female persuasion, you weren't offended. We're not trying to, but hey, you know what? There you
I
go. But
like females. Call me old-fashioned if you like.
hey, I like females as well. T3P online @yahoo.com is how you can email us your questions, because we need those questions, because we're doing a show all about your questions. Because, Lew's taking a little bit of a hiatus there. We want to provide that content to you, and in order to ensure that we have enough content to provide,
by the way,
you.
Not to go
Please.
back to that subject we so completely covered, but a thought occurred to me as you were outroing it.
Yes.
The fact that they're considering a clearly beautiful, feminine female as the Bond girl in this day and age is a wonderful, wonderful bit of retro reality as opposed to what they could have done.
Absolutely. I 100% agree. Actually, that's...
Dylan Mulvaney need not apply for that job. You know what I'm saying? So that's a good thing. That's a very good thing.
You could have gotten Cynthia Erivo. I'm just saying. I'm not saying that she's, ugly, but I'm just saying that
gold fingernails, dun dun dun. Ba-ba-da-ba-dum. She's the one with the ring in her nose.
Come here.
It jingles
Compared to
when
Sydney
she
Sweeney,
blows.
there is a difference there, I guess I will say. Anyway. Oh boy, well, we're in trouble. We're in so much trouble, it's unfortunate. But hey, there you go, T3P online @yahoo.com to email us your questions right there. Lew, we got going on all over the genre, guys.
What do we got going on? Well, we had Nolan as a guest host because Angry couldn't make it. And we did two marvelous movies. We did Special When Lit, which is a documentary, our second foray into the world of documentaries, all about pinball. And it's fascinating in kind of a spooky way to me, because some of these obsessives are very obsessive. If you thought Star Wars nerds and Star Trek nerds and other kinds of nerds you may have encountered in your life are strange and lonely, you ain't seen nothing yet till you watch this movie. But it's fascinating. And then we did, what did we do? Oh, yes, we did the Banderas Zorro movie, the first one, which was good.
Fantastic.
The second one was terrible. But the first one,
bad.
Was awfully good. And I kind of forgot. Talk about a Bond movie. There's a Bond movie set in old California, He's
basically,
he's a secret agent, and of course, somebody joked about it being. And look at this opening here, and tell me that isn't the Bond opening done Zorro style.
I'm telling you, right?
Isn't that the equivalent of the gun barrel and the shot and the blood? I mean, it just is.
Yes, it's a good point.
It has one of the most erotic seduction scenes in the history of non-pornographic films. And that is this wonderful sword fight between Catherine Zeta-Jones and Antonio Banderas, where they're snipping off little bits of each other's clothing in the process of there's this, and it has wit, it has fun.
It does.
Tony Hopkins, my old buddy from a spa we used to, a men's club, a gym we used to go to in Century City, and we'd have long chats in the steam room about all kinds of life, universe, and movie making. Anyway, not the kind you're thinking of. That's not the dwarf you're looking for. Anyway, as they said to Rachel. But anyway, he's asking Banderas if he knows how to use a sword, and Banderas looks at him and says, "The pointy part goes in the bad guy." Well, there's a little more to it than that. And anyway, that's a fantastic picture. I forgot how good it was.
Well, and you know who they
is the awful Anglo sub bad guy who's just not convincing at all to me. But otherwise,
wasn't he from Witness? Okay, but Catherine Zeta-Jones actually. You know who they were going to cast before Catherine Zeta-Jones?
Do tell.
2 actresses. 1, Shakira. 2, Jennifer Lopez.
Because of course. They said, well, we've got all these Welshmen and Englishmen in this movie playing Spaniards and Mexicans. I guess we should get an actual Latina. And in this day and age, they would have had to, wouldn't they? So thank God they did.
That's
this
true.
Is the movie that basically made her a star, because she was
absolutely,
a very
she says
busy,
it
but
herself.
not very well-known English television actress, basically.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And we're happy. She's happy. Michael Douglas is happy. So everybody came. It's good for you. It's good for me. It's good for the whales. It's good for Michael Douglas. Anyway,
Retired from acting recently, by the way.
and now we've got what we're doing. We used to do one every week for our recording sessions, but because Lauren is now going to be doing this late night show with Kevin Apollo, and because we have so many more, we're doing basically not for you out there, but for us, a double feature every other week. And so our next pair, if you want to get ahead of us and see a couple of amazing movies, I say that without it being true that they were my choices. One is called Diggstown. And Diggstown, if you love James Woods and you love Lou Gossett and you love Bruce Dern and you love Oliver Platt, you're going to love this movie. And even if you don't even know who those people are, you're going to love this movie because it's kind of the Sting meets Rocky. It's a con game movie about a boxing match. And gosh, it's good. I just somehow remembered it and how wonderful it is. And we decided to do that one. So go watch that and then you'll be ready, or wait till we tell you about it and then you'll want to watch it. And secondly, with all due respect to all of those slasher Halloween nights movies that everybody's into for horror these days. And did you see, by the way, they're now going to make a horror version of Aladdin?
Oh, I did not see that.
Because, of course, Aladdin's in the public domain anyway. They didn't have to wait like they did with Steamboat Willie. But anyway, it's a movie called Seconds. And it's one of the scariest movies you've ever seen in your life. And you've never heard of it. And especially for being a Rock Hudson movie, you've never heard of it. And John Frankenheimer, and you've never heard of it. And it's about an old man who finds his life is a dead end, his relationship's a dead end, he's not feeling really great. And somebody tells him, hey, there's this company, very private, very secretive. Will Geer is wonderfully evil as the boss of the company. And they will take you and they will put a corpse in for you and have you die to the rest of the world, and totally through plastic surgery. Here we go again. Jeff Bezos should do the remake with his wife, but will make you into a whole new person and give you a whole new life where all of your past stuff no longer applies and where everything is super and wonderful and marvelous. And John Randolph, who, I don't know if you got a picture of John Randolph, people will know his face if they don't know his name, is the old man who gets turned into Rock Hudson. And it sounds great, right? Wow, what a deal. Except he screws it up anyway and decides he wants to do it a second time. That's not part of the plan.
Uh-oh.
So go, you want to see us. And the brilliance of this movie, aside from the direction and the wonderful acting, is James Wong Howe, one of the greatest cinematographers in the history of showbiz. In fact, if you go down in that cast list and click on his name, you'll see all the famous movies that he did. Not cast, but the crew. Well, anyway, James Wong Howe. This is a black and white movie in an era of color, and it has to be. Oh, Murray Hamilton is in it too, for those of you who are celebrating the anniversary of Jaws. And there you see Richard Anderson, who either was we can remake him better, faster, whatever. So let's see. There you go. James Wong Howe. Here's a man who only did just a few minor movies, like The Thin Man, The Old Man in the Sea, Seconds, yes, but so many more. Yeah. The Molly McGuires. Notice something. They're all different genres. They're all different styles. And he was a key part of all of them. Hombre. HUD. That takes us to 60, but he goes all the way back to Sweet Smell of Success and Rose Tattoo. And, you can see. Anyway, you want to see cinematography in black and white like nobody can do anymore. Wow. Literally from silent pictures to the 70s. So there you go.
Good stuff. Check out Seconds. Check out the genre guys on WW Pro. And after a period of time, they do come here.
Explain that to people. Explain yourself,
Yes.
Mr. VashSky.
Yes, they do.
The way it works, let's get the ground rules out of the way.
Please.
The Genre Guys is a special member perk for people who are members of the WDW Pro channel. And a lot of you go there and watch the pro shows, and suddenly somebody generous will gift 10, 20, 50, 100 memberships, and suddenly your name goes green and you're a member. And what you may not know is that gives you access to all of these Genre Guy movies that are on there. But what is it, 2 months or 3 months or 6 years or 12 centuries later, they get recycled to this channel for free. Once Vash has improved them, and he does improve them with more, because we do them live, not live in broadcast, but live on tape, as they used to say. And so there's only so many pictures and things we can put in, but Vash improves that and expands it. And because he is a man of many, many demands on his time, it takes a while, but it gets done. And so how many are here and how many are there total? I don't know. There's probably 50, 60 movies by now, because I've been doing this with you, just this show for over a year officially. So anyway, it's a lot of fun, and we take a movie and we go into the backstory of how it happened, and also because Hangry's obsessed with it, how much money it made or didn't make, and why it's worth watching. And our theme song is when there's one we like, and the newest one up right now is one we hated, rightfully so, which was Batman Forever. Well, forever. Anyway, with other than the stinkers, which we do occasional stinkers, and that's okay. Remind you that there are good ones. We suggest you buy the damn movie for a few bucks and put it on your shelf where all of the trigger warnings in the world can't reach it, and the re-edits can't reach it, and where in a year or 2 or 3 or 5 you may want to watch it again or show it to your kids or your grandkids, especially since most of the contemporary so-called cinema is so vapid and pointless and full of, what's the fancy word I'm supposed to use for crap?
Excrement.
Anyway, the point is, some of them are not that old. Some of them are 5, 10 years back, maybe. It's not been that long that Hollywood lost its way, and we hope it returns to find the way, which is to please audiences and create memorable characters and stories that people give a damn about. But until they do, we'll always have Paris. We didn't, but now we do, right? We did Casablanca, too, come to think of it.
Oh, yes. Yes, we did.
So, anyway.
Well, that just about concludes Hollywood Backlot with Lou and you. Again, that email, again, at t3ponline@yahoo.com to provide us your questions right there. You can find me
about the business and how you wonder if it really works the way they've lied to you about. Because I tell the truth. Now, I will not reveal personal confidences and details about my career and life, because I like to keep myself a little outside of it. I see somebody saying, I remember watching Seconds the first time and saying to myself, it has an ending you could never do today. I don't think you could do the whole movie, period, nowadays.
Very interesting.
Oh, wow. That is, watch it late at night, alone in the dark, and have your sleep interrupted for days. It's that spooky and that wonderful and that marvelous. And then for an antidote, Digstown. But anyway.
Yes. And so make sure you go ahead and become a member at the WW Pro Show in order to get those Genre Guys as soon as they are released. Make sure you subscribe to this channel and hit the like button if you haven't hit the like button yet. Submit us your questions, as Lou beautifully pointed out right there. And being VashSky, that is, I will be on That Park Place there every single Monday morning at 11 a.m. Eastern. Yeah, got the time zone right. That's a funny joke between Lou and I right now on Tuesdays. And
what? That's the riddle of the day. What do Rust and VashSky have in common? They never sleep.
Yeah, that's true. I only got 2 hours of sleep last night, so 11 a.m. Eastern on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and extra magic hours. We do have them at about the same time right there, and C3PO Live, where you can join Lou and I talking about theme parks, all kinds of stuff. Somebody's got a window on Main Street. You might be surprised on who it is. So we'll talk about that on C3PO Live.
Been looking at that window this weekend.
Yes.
And who's kind of, giving them plenty of time to get reference photography for someday when maybe he's added to the Hall of Presidents if they haven't torn it down by then in favor of a Cars ride or something.
Oh, don't even worry about that, Lou. We're going to be talking about that a lot. That's going to be C3PO Live at 3 p.m. Eastern. If you want to know, check us out. Thank you so much. We will see you all next time. Same bat channel, same bat place, as Lou would say. 2 p.m. Easterns on Sunday. Take care, guys. We'll see you later.
Bye.